Out here with the 454 again, trying to figure out what the right course of action is. We've got 2 stuck valves, a couple of bent and 1 broken push rod. So the question is, do I reassemble this thing, cram a sash cord down in one of the cylinders, rotate the piston all the way up, remove the spring from the top, begin to work that valve a little bit, use some penetrating oil, and hope that works. And if it doesn't, remove the head, or since I'm already at this point, remove the head. I do spend a fair bit of time contemplating things that happen. Definitely things that kind of happen behind the scenes and internally. With the world we live in, there's no shortage of that. Our devotional today brings us to a passage in Luke 8:27. It says, "And when he went forth to the land, there he met him out of the city was a certain man which had devils a long time, and wore no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in the tombs." So, for those of you that are familiar with this part of the Gospels, you know this is the maniac of Gadara. Interesting is that Jesus had been healing some people and been teaching a lot there in Caesarea. And they were headed across what they call the Sea of Galilee. It's actually a lake, but it can get pretty crazy. And so they were heading across, and there was a tremendous wind that came up. Jesus is asleep in the boat. And there was this terrible storm. Jesus gets up. They wake him. He gets up, and he rebukes the wind and the waves. For us, that's just kind of a story, and I don't think we really appreciate what's going on there. Like I said, there's some things here that are internal that need to be figured out, that need to be understood. And there's some things happening in the scriptures there that I think we really need to understand. The storm is a picture of chaos. And we know that, because we're looking at it in Sunday school, that when it talks about the sea, oftentimes it's talking about people. And so here you see this chaos in the sea. And we see that today. There's tremendous chaos that's going on. Now, the fact that he rebukes the sea, I don't know if that ever really grips you or not. He literally rebukes the sea. And interesting is that prior to that, we had seen in Mark 1:25 and Luke 4:35 that he rebukes evil spirits. So he speaks to the wind and the waves the same way that he would speak to evil spirits. Exactly the same. And so you begin to see this imagery in this, and it's amazing. And so notice the progression of this. So after he shows this picture kind of in the winds of the waves, then he goes and he deals with it directly with this maniac of Gadara. And so here's your picture. Well, first your lesson on the shore there in the city of Capernaum. Then we're going to see an imagery of it in the Sea of Galilee, and then I'm going to actually do it. So then after that, after they've seen these illustrations, then he deals with death and sickness and sin. So what he's trying to tell them is, there is nothing in this world or in the world to come that you need to fear that God doesn't have complete control over. We kind of live in a world right now where things are very chaotic. And instead of it actually being dealt with, men are running and hiding in fear. And we're being instructed by those that are in authority to to hunker down and be fearful. Sometimes that comes across as being prudent. But Jesus here doesn't deal with that at all. He deals with it directly. So my question is, what are you concerned about? What is it that is the chaos in your life? Do you realize that God can speak into that? He can rebuke that. He can deal with that. But you have to know that the disciples went to him. They went and they stirred him because this was stirring them. And they went directly to him. The writer talks about demonic possession, but I don't want you to just think that, it's only in alcoholics and stuff like that. There's oppression too. And that has no limits. You might say, well, I'm a child of God, and so therefore the devil can't harm me. Is that true? Have you read the book of Job? Do you understand that, yes, the enemy can afflict you? This is why it's a war. It's a battle. You have to understand what's going on the inside. Don't get stuck. What's the answer? Well, the answer is Jesus. You're saying, well, that's so simple. I learned that in Sunday school. Yes, you did. And the reason you learned it is that you might cry out to him. He's the one that can bring you solace in your soul. He's the one that can bring the chaos to where it needs to be. He is the one that can provide you with the answers in your life. All you need is him. You think about this for a minute. In eternity, there's one single focus. Right here, right now, we need one single focus. I may not know exactly what I'm going to do with this, but I know what I'm going to do in my life. I'm going to look to Jesus. How about you? Won't you look to Jesus today? Won't you allow him to be your all in all? May God bless you.